was working in Photoshop for several hours, preparing at least 80 photos for a 59-second short about Geddy Lee's birthday. It's on my channel, go check it out. And because I was processing so many photos, and I'm sitting there for hours, I of course was thinking about Geddy Lee's role in Rush. And I thought he really, at times when he was needed, was the de facto leader of Rush. I know it's a democracy. I know it's one cohesive trinity that makes Rush music. However, I believe that he really exemplifies what a true leader should be. And he was so selfless at times. And I started thinking about the hero's journey and how, and believe it or not, and how an unlikely hero rises and accepts his role as a leader and acts selflessly and is a genius and has influenced so many of us. And he's inspired so many of us. Rush has inspired so many of us. So that's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about Geddy Lee. I can't wait to do it. Thank you for being here at the Loud Boy Experience. Please hit the subscribe button. And those of you on Rumble, please hit the follow button. I appreciate you guys, and let's go. Rush has never been afraid to take risks. I mean, my goodness, look at their wardrobe in the early days. They took risks, but musically, sonically, lyrically, all of it, complete risk. Taking risks that so many other bands wouldn't take. And that really has defined Rush. They have taken a risk and have been well rewarded for it. And a good leader will take a risk. And I believe Geddy has done that. He wanted to add synthesizers. And he grew with that technology in the late 70s and pushing on through the 80s. What can he do? And it really just reinvigorated his musical mind. And he loved composing on a keyboard or a piano. He loved composing that way. And again, but that alone was a risk. When you start off as a three-piece prog band, and then you all of a sudden introduce this fourth instrument. And by the way, his best friend in the universe, Alex, didn't really care for it. This is all well documented. But he took that risk. And we were sonically rewarded with that because Rush went this way and then made a C change and went this way and then course corrected and went this way. Those are taking risks. And in business, you have to take a risk. There is no reward without risk. And really, some of the best parts of our lives are served by and start from the risks that we take. If you never took any risks in life, then really nothing's ever going to happen. You're just standing still. Time stands still. And just the world revolves around you because you're afraid to go anywhere and move and try a new thing and meet a new person and write a new song or write a story that you've had in your mind for 20 years. That's a risk, putting yourself out there. But Rush did that. I'm reminded of a story where at the end of the 80s, pushing on into Presto, Geddy felt the pressure, and especially from Alex, I believe, and as Geddy described it in an interview, no more keyboards, right? And Geddy said with a little tear, okay, fine, I'll do it. That also personifies a leader. A leader is selfless. A leader will give up his own needs, his own gratification to better the group. And in a literal sense, to better the band, the rock group in this case. And that's what he did. He gave up that creative outlet for him. Yes, they still carried on in some form or fashion. They were still kind of there, of course, all the way through the end. However, that main role that was starting to infringe on both Neil and Alex's playing in their sonic roles within the band, because if you have sequencers going on, triggering different sound effects, then how much more do you need drums? The drums have to back off. And if he's composing elaborate melodies and chords on a keyboard, Alex had to back off. Hey, that's my thing. But Geddy did that. That's being selfless. And Geddy did that. Again, personifying a great leader. And again, I'm not calling Geddy a leader, because I know they are one creative trinity that surprisingly worked together for all those years without breaking up. Few bands do that. With that much longevity, over 40 years, with the same members staying true to the band the entire time, with one creative mission, acting as one living organism. And that's what Rush was. Truly astounding. The likes of which we may never see again. That kind of creative cohesiveness. But you know what? It was a brotherhood. And within a brotherhood, yes, you're going to fight and you're going to have creative differences. And you're going to go through the highs and lows of life in your personal lives. Think about Neil with Ghost Rider and all the other bumps along the way and stuff with their kids, all the things that Rush went through in their personal lives. Of course, being in a band, it affects who you are, but they stayed together. It's truly astounding and quite amazing. So Geddy, in his role in the band, not only was he the singer, and I start thinking about that hero's journey there, right? I bet if you went to Geddy, who was really interested in guitar early on, okay? His mom gave him the money, like $50 or something, to go get his own guitar. He did it. He had to create music, and he had to play guitar. But I bet at that time, if you'd ask him, hey, are you going to be the lead singer? No, but he stepped up to that role. Again, what does a great leader do? He steps up. He steps up to the occasion when he's called upon, when he's needed to serve the betterment of the group, even though maybe he probably had to overcome a lot of barriers, like a lot of us do, who speak publicly, speak in front of a camera, play music in front of a live audience. You have to overcome certain hurdles to do that. It's not easy because rejection's always there. I think about Back to the Future, right? Marty was always worried, like, what if they don't like me? What if I can't take rejection like that? And something that Marty McFly, when he goes back to 1955, his dad talked the same way. It's very common. Overcoming that stage fright just in life in general and taking a risk, that's what defines successful people. You'll never find success without taking a risk. Geddy took a risk, and he did become the lead singer. And when he needed to, his voice soared high above the band because he needed to fill that sonic space. Everything else along the rungs of the ladder of the sonic space that made up Rush's music, those are pretty much filled, right? So Geddy has described that his voice had to just screech above all of that. And that's where he found a headroom, for a lack of a better term. So he stepped up there with his voice. And then at a certain point, he actually backed that off and started singing in a different register. And Rush's music morphed around his need of his voice, right? The other guys stepping up that way. And Rush, as a living organism making great music, stepped up and filled in those sonic spaces so Geddy can now exist in a more mid-range, tenor to high baritone kind of range where Geddy's voice naturally lies. And I love that about Geddy, right? He steps up for the band to become the singer. And when he needs to, he continues on. And he really is a great singer. I know all kinds of names have been called about him. People have said, but these are people who just don't know, don't care. Or we just make fun and jest. We might make fun of Geddy just to be funny. But we know we love him and we know his voice. And can you imagine someone else being the lead singer for Rush? I can't even make that leap, right? I know it's possible, and I know there are great singers, but it would fundamentally change the sound. And that's what again, anything in life, when you unplug one element, if it changes the entire thing, right? So unplugging Geddy's voice from Rush, it no longer is Rush anymore. And that's the beauty of music, and that's the beauty of creation. When we create something, the creator makes something with an intended goal, a vision in his mind, in his heart, and then it becomes a living thing of its own, something that we all can share. Any healthy relationship will survive and thrive upon the people involved being selfless, emptying themselves, and giving more than they're given. The best relationships survive that way. Think of the atrocities. Let's choose a better word. Think of the devastating catastrophes that have occurred in marriages. With like here in America, half of marriages ending in divorce. And really, I bet 99% of it is because someone acted for themselves. They were selfish. That's just a fundamental rule of life. Emptying yourself, being selfless. Rush has done this. Geddy hit all three members through the years. And again, I'm sure there were events that we have no idea happened. Big fights, stuff like that. But when push came to shove, and when the world imploded for Neil, when Neil lost his family, they knew at that very moment, Geddy and Alex, that Rush was over. If Neil could no longer be part of Rush, then it's over. There is no band without those other guys. That's what Geddy said. That was selfless. They could have gone out and got a hungry new drummer, a young guy. They could have gone to another band and poached a drummer, but no. They stood by their brother Neil, and he went through hell, for all those years, the ghostwriter years, as I dubbed them, and they selflessly gave up their dream, their world, their creative vision, that living organism of Rush. They just it was over. We're done. It hurts. And yeah, solo albums were made during those years. Geddy made his album, My Favorite Headache. Alex made his album, Victor. So yeah, they each had a creative outlet, but it was not Rush. And I think about the genius of Geddy. Think about the solo albums. Okay? My Favorite Headache, Geddy Lee. Victor, Alex Lifeson. And of course the Burning for Buddy albums, two, I believe, tribute albums by Neil Peart. Well, of those three, okay, the Buddy albums with Neil, Victor with Alex, and My Favorite Headache, pop quiz. Which one would you go back to right now and you want to listen to it? You would really enjoy listening to it. I have a feeling I know the answer. This is not a slight, okay? The Burning for Buddy, genius. He's playing jazz. I love jazz. As a sax player and as a drummer, I love jazz music. So that was an amazing big band, all that stuff. I love it. So I love what he did there. And then there's Alex's album, Victor. But then there's My Favorite Headache. This once again proving how amazing Geddy Lee is. Because away from Rush, he made a cohesive, beautiful album with pretty darn good lyrics. Hats off, Geddy. Nice job, buddy. And again, what I'm just doing is singing his praises, okay? That's why I call him the Maestro. Because even when he stepped away from Rush and made something on his own, sonically, it's just so pleasing. It's such a good album. It holds up to today, and I still very much enjoy it. So I'm wondering, again, here's that pop quiz. Let me know in the comments. Victor, My Favorite Headache, and The Burning for Buddy. Which of those three projects would you most go to? I want to go listen to that right now. I'm going to grab my CD, grab my vinyl, or I'm going to hit play on my phone. Which one? Just curious. I have a feeling I know the answer, but I'd love to see and hear what you guys say in the comments. Guys, Geddy Lee is undeniably influential. He's inspired all of us. And again, I think that he's been the leader when he's needed to be. There's one story before we go. There's a story where Alex has done his part. Neil has played his parts. Okay? And I believe this is Snakes and Arrows. But it probably happened on multiple albums. But I believe the story comes from Snakes and Arrows, from the documentary, which is called A Game of Snakes and Arrows. And Alex is just snoozing on the couch, right? He's done. He's done his piece. Neil, who knows where he is, but he's resting. That's great. Where is Geddy in that moment? He's sitting at Pro Tools, perfecting the mix and adding the parts and putting it all together, right? And again, that's what a great leader does. He works those extra hours and he puts in the extra time and an unrelenting pursuit of excellence. All three personify this. Geddy, Alex, and Neil, they all personify an unrelenting pursuit of excellence. But it was Geddy who sat there after hours, all recording him and done, and he's trying to perfect that mix in Pro Tools. And again, I believe that sets him apart, literally in that moment. Because the other guys weren't there at the time, Geddy was still at work, still creating, being the maestro of Rush. Guys, check out my short Geddy Lee birthday video. I've been making a lot of shorts lately. It's a pleasure to be back here in front of the camera. I'm glad to see you guys again. And for all you new subscribers, thank you. If you haven't subscribed yet, and there's many of you, please hit the subscribe button. If you're on Rumble, hit the follow button. I love Rush, obviously. My daughter made a joke the other day. And she's just like me. Very sarcastic, kind of a smart A. And she goes, "You don't like Rush, do you?" Yeah, I got it. And you know what I replied to her? "You don't like Rush, do you?" I go, within a second, I go, "Yeah, but I try to hide it." Obviously, I don't. But I know you share my love of Rush, and I thank you for being here to watch this. Again, guys, subscribe, follow, appreciate you. I'll see you next time.